What happens when a group of tattooed bikers are mocked by an entire town? Only for everyone to realize those tattoos hide a heartbreaking secret. They look like trouble. Leather jackets, roaring bikes, tattoos that made strangers cross the street. People whispered when they pulled up at the diner, judging them before they even took off their helmets. No one knew their names, just the ink on their skin. But those tattoos, they weren't what people thought. They carried stories of pain, loss, and brotherhood, symbols of something far deeper than rebellion. And when the truth finally came out, it silenced an entire town. Because sometimes the people we fear the most are the ones protecting us. It was a quiet Sunday morning in a small southern town, the kind where everyone knew everyone, or at least thought they did. The air was filled with the hum of engines as a group of bikers rolled through Main Street, their jackets bearing patches and tattoos that made heads turn. Among them was Ray Carter, a man in his late 40s with a weathered face and a calm, steady gaze. To most, Ray looked like the kind of man you'd avoid. Rough, dangerous, the kind mothers warned their kids about. But Ray wasn't what people assumed. He was a former Army medic who had seen more pain than most could imagine. After losing his best friend in combat, he started the biker club not for rebellion, but for remembrance. A brotherhood of veterans helping each other heal. Every tattoo on their bodies carried meaning. Fallen friends, battles survived, lives saved. Yet to the townspeople, those symbols looked like threats. Whenever the bikers stopped for coffee or gas, the stares followed. Some whispered, some crossed the street. Others called them thugs. Ray tried to ignore it, but deep down, he felt the sting. The same prejudice he'd faced years ago, only now it came from his own neighbors. What the town didn't realize was that their judgment would soon be tested. Because within days, an event would unfold that would reveal who these men truly were, and who the real heroes in their community had been all along. The same tattoos people feared would become symbols of hope, courage, and sacrifice. A week later, the bikers returned to the same town, this time to attend a charity event for a local children's hospital. It was supposed to be a peaceful ride, something they'd done countless times before. But before they could even park their bikes, trouble was already brewing. At the town square, a few locals stood by the coffee shop, whispering as the engines roared closer. "They're back again," someone muttered. "Those criminals with their tattoos." A young woman pulled her child closer, afraid to even look at them. No one cared that the bikers were there to donate, not to cause chaos. All they saw were tattoos and leather. Ray and his crew parked neatly by the curb, careful not to block traffic. They smiled at the onlookers, trying to be friendly, but most turned away. One man, wearing a pressed shirt and an expensive watch, stepped forward. "You people need to leave," he said coldly. "This is a family event." Not some biker rally, Ray tried to explain, handing him a flyer from the hospital's fundraiser. But the man smacked it out of his hand. The paper drifted to the ground. "We don't want your kind here," he spat, loud enough for everyone to hear. The crowd murmured. Some laughed, others filmed. Ray's brothers tensed, ready to defend him, but he raised a hand. Calm, steady. He'd seen hatred before. It wasn't new. What hurt wasn't the insult. It was the eyes around him, filled with judgment. None of them willing to step in or speak up. They left quietly, their engines echoing down the street like thunder fading into distance. But that wasn't the end. Hours later, as the charity event continued, the same man who had insulted them stood near the stage with his little daughter. The afternoon heat shimmered off the pavement. Laughter and music filled the air, until a sudden scream shattered it all. From across the park, people started shouting. Smoke, then fire. A food truck's gas line had burst, flames spreading fast toward the crowd. Panic erupted. Parents ran, kids cried, chaos everywhere. The man froze, his daughter trapped behind the overturned stand, flames closing in. He called out for help, but everyone was running the other way. And then came the sound again, the rumble of engines. The bikers had turned around. Ray was at the front, his eyes locked on the fire. Without hesitation, they charged through the chaos. Two of them grabbed fire extinguishers from their bikes, Another kicked open a barricade, and Ray dove into the smoke. He lifted the crying girl into his arms and carried her out. Coughing, covered in soot, the crowd went silent. The same man who had mocked them stared in disbelief, tears streaming down his face as he hugged his daughter. The tattoos he had despised were now the marks of men who had risked everything to save strangers. But the night wasn't over yet, because what the town learned in the hours that followed would change the way they looked at those bikers forever. The flames had been put out, the little girl safe, but the chaos left behind something deeper than smoke in the air. As the fire trucks pulled away, the townspeople began to realize who these thugs really were. Yet even in that moment of heroism, not everyone was ready to see the truth. Police sirens wailed in the distance. When the officers arrived, they saw the wreckage. Overturned tables, broken barriers, and a crowd pointing in all directions. And there, in the middle, stood the bikers, their jackets singed, faces blackened by smoke. But instead of gratitude, suspicion filled the air once again. "Hands where we can see them," one officer barked, drawing his weapon. The same man whose daughter Ray had saved tried to speak up, but his voice was drowned out in the confusion. The bikers froze, disbelief washing over them. They had just saved dozens of lives, and now they were being treated like criminals. Ray raised his hands slowly, his heart pounding. The flashing lights illuminated the tattoo on his arm, the one people always judged. But up close, the ink told a different story. A cross, a date, and a name. His fallen friends. A symbol of sacrifice, not sin. One officer pushed Ray against his bike, cuffing him roughly. "You think we don't know what you people are up to?" he sneered. "We got reports you started this fire." The crowd gasped. The man with the daughter stepped forward, shouting, "No! They saved us! They—" But his voice cracked, drowned by the noise of radios and orders. For a moment, Ray thought of fighting back, of defending his brothers, their honor, their truth. But then he looked around at the people watching. Their faces told the story he'd seen all his life, fear of what they didn't understand. As the officers led him away, the town fell silent. The heroes had been handcuffed, and the truth hung heavy in the air, waiting for someone, anyone, to finally speak it. Hours later, the truth finally came out. The fire department's report confirmed that the food truck explosion was caused by a faulty gas line, not by the bikers. Witness videos surfaced online showing Ray and his crew pulling people from the flames, risking their lives without hesitation. By morning, what began as whispers of blame had turned into headlines of heroism. The same townspeople who had judged them lined up outside the police station, waiting to apologize. The man whose daughter Ray had saved was the first to speak, his voice trembling as he thanked the biker who had risked everything for a stranger who once spat in his face. When Ray walked out, bruised, tired, still smelling faintly of smoke, the crowd erupted in applause. But behind his calm eyes, there wasn't pride, just quiet sadness, because Ray knew something most of them didn't. He knew how quickly fear turns to hate, how easily people label what they don't understand. Today they saw him as a hero, but yesterday he was just another thug with tattoos. And tomorrow, who knows? The town eventually built a small monument at the park, a plaque engraved with the names of the bikers who helped that day. It became a reminder that courage doesn't always wear a uniform or speak softly. Sometimes it rides on two wheels covered in ink, carrying the scars of battles the world never sees. Ray and his brothers didn't stay for the ceremony. They rode off quietly at sunrise, engines rumbling like thunder rolling across the hills, leaving behind a message stronger than words. Because in the end, this story wasn't just about a fire. It was about something burning deeper, the walls we build between each other. So the next time you see someone who looks different, ask yourself, are you seeing who they are, or just what you've been taught to fear? Because sometimes, the people we judge the hardest are the ones sent to save us. If this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Take a second to share it, because someone out there needs this reminder today. We all judge too quickly, but stories like this show how little we really know about people's battles and scars. If you believe respect should never depend on appearances, hit that like button. And if you've ever been misunderstood or misjudged, tell your story in the comments below. Your voice might inspire someone else to see the world differently. Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful, real-life stories that open hearts, challenge prejudice, and remind us what humanity truly means. Because sometimes the smallest act of understanding can change everything.